And they recognized with him, yeah, you know, you shouldn't be here. You're a pretty good guy. I don't know what the charges are about, but I'm sure it's going to be decided in your favor. And Paul isn't going to go off and retire. This isn't just a trip to Italy. He's on a different kind of mission sent by God that he can testify to what Christianity is about. The second thing Paul would want us to know, not only are we responsible for the attitudes we choose to have, especially in struggles, but I can decide in the struggle of choice. That's still ours. You see verse 22? If I want to go on living, man, it'd be an easy thing for him to depart, to become an angel in heaven. It'd be easy. Oh, that's what we're looking for. We hope one day to be in front of the pearly gates, to worship Christ around the throne. We hope to be there. There's no one I know who doesn't want to be a part of that group. If I go on living in the body, that will mean fruitful labor for me. I've got plenty to do. But what shall I choose? I don't know. Yeah, I'd like to go to heaven. But it's more necessary for you. He's talking to the Philippians, to the Ephesians, to Colossians, all those who have embraced the faith, who have left the world behind to step out and to serve God. But it's far more necessary for you that I remain in the body. And then amazing, verse 25, convinced of this, I know that I will remain. It's not about me. What does it matter about me? God has set this course for me, and I can do no less than choose it to honor Him. He wants to go to heaven. He wants to break the chains, to avoid the beatings, to get away from the protests, the lies about him. But if he goes, who will take his place? He isn't a new convert. He's lived according to the way. He has seen what Christ can do. He has been a part of even preaching and having a guy fall out of the window and raising him up from the dead. I don't think I want every preacher to do that, but it's just great to know that preacher had power. He's seen that. Who could take his place? There's no other like him. And Paul, in his letter to the Philippians and to you and me, he's challenging the mentality of the grass is always greener on the other side of the fence. You know, every cow thought that before they got out there, and they needed to be ushered back in where it really wasn't. They needed to be back there where there was safety, there were boundaries, there were places where they were needing to be. Jesus did not leave heaven because he was going to a picnic. It was going to be a trial. It was going to be a mission. And certain things are going to be accomplished that have benefited you and I way beyond his resurrection. It has benefited you and I so that we know we can have hope and victory no matter what the circumstance that affects us. David did not fight Goliath because it was an easy thing to do. He didn't have a bazooka, a rocket-propelled grenade. No, he went out there with no space-age science on his side. 5 smooth stones and a sling that kids would use. But he had confidence that the battle he was involved was not his own. It was a battle for the Lord and the Lord's army. And he was privileged in his own mind to stand up and take that battle to Goliath and to those who would challenge God. We had a nice vacation. We were able to rent a cabin and go out for a week. A lot of fishing. For me, the vacation was none of that. It was being out there away from work, away from telephones, away from anything that would distract you, and to be out there on the deck, because nobody gets up as early as I do, and have a cup of coffee and read my Bible and be alone with the Lord. And I was reading and contemplating just this passage during the previous couple weeks. We had, one of the owners of the company said, you know, some things happen. The sales part is great. I enjoy that. There's no problem with that. But the service part, sometimes when we have as much rain, sometimes you don't quite get it done on the first trip. You have to go back and find out where's the water coming from. You've got to stop it on a door that were replaced twice. And it leaked again. And the boss says, you know, we really are kind of disappointed. I said, well, I asked the question. I said, well, should I be moving on then? Because to me that would have been easier, just move on to someplace else. I could still do what I like to do and I'm good at, but without disappointing anyone. And the answer was, well, I don't know. And that's why we left it. And I went through this verse. The easy thing would be to quit, start over again, go a place where the hassles are not there, at least not at the beginning. And, you do what you like to do. I like to do that. Then I was going through and I wasn't in chains. I was going through what Paul went through. Sometimes it's better not to choose the easy way. To choose what God has you there for. I'm talking about work, where I am and what I do. To do what God has you there for, relying not on your skills, your knowledge, and your ability for the victory. The victory's His. That's been over 6 weeks ago. Things have improved vastly. It's different. The victory's not won yet. It may take 2 years. It may take longer for things to go exactly the way I think they should go. And that's where Paul was. What do you think should be done, Paul? Well, I'd like to see this, that, and the other. But it's what does God want? What is He directing? How is He leading you in your life? There's who's going to replace Him. At the end of this passage, there are 2 ladies in the church, and these are Christians. These are sanctified people at the Philippian church. This isn't a problem church. Who else would listen but Paul, who started the church? When 2 ladies were not getting along, says, help these 2 ladies. They're pillars of the church. Help them to get along. Join them back together so that the gospel will go on even stronger than it was before. Who else but Paul could state that to 2 people who knew him and loved him and recognized who he was? It's not always the easy way. And for us at our church, it's not always the easy way. Look at the opportunities that God has put right in front of us. The Encounter weekend that's coming up. How many of you have been to Encounter? Probably none of you. Well, maybe one has. It's an opportunity we have, not only to see what God is challenging us to do, but can benefit so many people who are just coming into the faith and are being challenged at areas that maybe you've already gone through those challenges years ago. They haven't. They're going through it right now. And they need to know, what does God say when He's knocking on my heart's door and wants me, as the head of the household, to lead my family and to be the Christian parent and leader, the husband, the wife that He has chosen me to be. It's not always easy. It's going to take some time to be involved with that. Our bulletin even tells you the time of the first meeting. Wow. We'll have to be ready for it in advance. How about the fasting week? The pastor laid out some things that are coming up in our church's life in this coming year. The fasting week. Sooner than that, registration. Did you see that in the bulletin? For Upward Basketball. It's right at our doorstep. What a wonderful opportunity to be involved in something that's not all easy, but is a lot of fun and is rewarding for the challenges that meet us. And I hope that we'll find areas for us that we can be involved in the life of this church and the strengthening, the opportunities that we have to go forward, to get stronger, to improve in our faith. And Paul writes, convinced of this, there's a purpose in what I'm going through. I will remain. Paul says, I'm praying. I'm praying I'll be found innocent. And I will one day be in Spain. So one day I'll come back to you. One day I'll go back to all the churches and tell them of the gloriousness of God's power, His strength, and His love. Life for the Christian will always be the challenge of the choices that face us on a day-by-day basis. The third thing that Paul would want us to know is my response in all this will really make the difference. It was Paul's choice. He wrote, "Yet what shall I choose? I don't know." Until he decides and becomes convinced. This is what Christ wants of me. Convinced of this. We've had a movie, I guess it's somewhat popular. I haven't seen it. Twilight and all the Eclipse episodes and things like that. And they talk about themselves in terms of team. There's a Team Edward and a team Jason or whatever they are. Convinced of this, Paul would say, if he was using that vernacular, I will remain to help team Rock Island First Church. See yourself as a family, as a team? We're going to be faithful, we're going to get involved in team Rock Island First Church. There are things we've been challenged to do, places we're to minister. No one else will. It's up to us. And the challenge and the rewards and the struggle are for us. And Paul writes to this church that he can't see yet because he's in chains in Rome, conduct yourselves in a manner worthy of the gospel. Don't be able to say, oh man, that's what people do. They just hate Christians. They hate me. They don't like me at all. Look at all the stuff they've thrown at my feet, things I have to do. Don't take it personally. Conduct yourself. It's worthy of the gospel of Christ. And verse 29 just blows me away. I have to just use that term. For it has been granted to you on behalf of Christ, not only to believe on Him. Boy, there's a lot of joy in meeting with Jesus in the morning, of knowing He's there when you pray, of knowing that His heart is your heart. He loves you, and He's strengthening you. He's sent His Holy Spirit to help you. It's been granted to you on behalf of Christ not only to believe on Him, but then you see that other phrase, but also it's been granted to you on behalf of Christ to suffer for Him. Since you are going through the same struggle you saw I had and now hear that I still have. Now, it doesn't matter what level you're in. Leadership, apostlehood, whether you're Christ Himself. It's a struggle. There was real suffering. Something that we are privileged to do. Not just for suffering's sake. This is not some sadism or masochism or anything like that. No. Because anything worth doing is worth doing right, and it takes some effort. My job, I was telling you about. That's why they call it work. Because some things are not too pleasant. Some things are actually hard. Some things require you and your energy, your ability, your talents to do. And Christ has granted to us that we might struggle, that we might suffer with Him, so that we can enjoy the victory together with Him. Look at your chains, your struggles. What are you teaching? What are you preaching? And you see them every day. We can be victorious in the struggle. One thing I've noticed over the years, I like old people. I do. I like old people. And life this time of the year is really great. Debbie's birthday is September the 9th. Mine is October 16th. For 6 weeks. 6 weeks. Debbie is the same age I am. I like old people. By the way, Debbie, someone asked me, they said, okay, Mike, how old are you? Since we're the same age. And I tell you what, Debbie, I was strong. I did not tell them. And I won't. I like old people because they're set in their ways. And a new illness happens every day. I see an old person in my house every morning. Now, don't get ahead of me. It's when I'm shaving in the mirror. Now, he's there. I see an old person in the mirror. And it's an encouragement to know that God hasn't given up on me. Life has different challenges. And I like to consider some of the heroes, not only of our faith, but of society, who have come that way ahead of me. Consider Abraham Lincoln, 16th President of the United States. Lived in Illinois. Consider Abraham Lincoln. He had a hard childhood. He didn't have all the things that you expect a successful person to have. He had less than 1 year of formal schooling. Wow. He went into business in 1831 and failed.